Roll over. Roll over.
And roll over.
Or you're going to get tased.
Roll the over.
Roll over and you're going to get tased.
I'm going to tase you, man. You little bitch. Now turn over.
Turn over.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your goddamn motherfucking back.
Let me tase him.
What do you got? Hang on. There's one coming from underneath him. Put his hands.
I got this one.
Put his hands back. Get your hands back. Right now. Get your hands back. Hang on.
Hold on, man. Hold on. Hold on. Tell me what the f*** y'all doing. Hold on, man. No.
Move his back.
Are you serious? Oh, my God. Help. Help.
I gotta do it.
Help.
Kind of like 7 to 8 cops that had this group of gang of cops have jumped on a guy up in Michigan, and state troopers had him on the ground, beating the hell out of him. Man, he must have really done something wrong. This guy must have been turning green and ripping his shirt off because he's the Hulk. They can't do anything about it. As a matter of fact, he must have been doing crazy crimes, walking up and down the street that they had to absolutely stop. Let's watch how this whole thing started and count how many seconds before approach to violence started. Let's go.
Yes, very irate.
All right, hold on. Time out.
Stop.
I ain't even doing nothing. I'm not even doing nothing. Y'all got y'all cameras on?
Yep.
Please don't.
Put your hands behind your back.
Come on, put your hands behind your back. Come on, son, do that to me. Hey! Get on the ground. Hey! Help! Face, bro. I can get my hands behind my back, bro. I can get my hands behind my back. Why is all with my hold on, time out. Stop, man. Roll over. Time out. Why is all? Hold on.
Roll over, man.
Hold on, time out. Roll over. What? Roll the over. Roll over. Help! Roll over. Help! 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 Over. Help!
Had he heard yet what it is that was wrong? Did he tell him why they're even approaching him? It turned from, hey, how you doing, to arm grab, arm around the back, and another officer with his hands on his other arm. And the first question you should ask is, what's wrong? Apparently their problem was that he was walking down the street when there's a sidewalk available. Maybe he was drunk, I don't know, but maybe he was like to see the lights fly by him. I ask myself that all the time when someone's walking in the street or running or exercising in the street when there's a perfectly good sidewalk there. Mm-hmm. What I haven't done is jumped out and said, hey, you come with me, and snatched him and threw him on the ground. And what I definitely didn't do after not doing that was then taunt the guy as you have him pinned up against the car and he's irate. Because that's what they did next. That was the fun part. Watch.
Bro, he whipped my ass for no reason. And I had no
Looks like there was plenty of reasons.
For what reason?
Your resistance?
I never did. Never did.
You're doing it right now.
Never did. Never did. Never did. I'm not wasting that, like, not that bad.
There's a knife on the ground back there.
Yeah, my knife. I just bought it a couple days ago. Thank you. And I'm suing your bitch.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So if y'all gonna shoot me, pressing charges.
You really know what homophobic is.
I don't give a about none of that. Go ahead. Go ahead. And I'm bleeding too. And I'm not resisting
Whose fault
arrest.
do you think that
I'm
is?
not resisting arrest.
You are physically pushing back against the car right now.
No, I'm
that
not.
is resisting.
Keep my ass.
Open the door.
Unlock it.
It's got to be ragdoll, and just if you're breathing, you're resisting arrest, Trey. That's how this goes down.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I was trying to see this sidewalk over there. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and it's still like hard for me to tell. I mean, I'm with you. You mentioned it too. I feel like there's been a real uptick in white people jogging in the streets instead of on the sidewalk recently. At least in my neighborhood, I've noticed it when I'm like driving to the pharmacy or whatever, and I'm always like, "What is going on here?" But never seen this type of reaction to it for sure, and it certainly seems a little over exaggerated. I mean, yeah, I don't know if they. First of all, they're clearly afraid of black men. Everybody knows that. They're like way too skittish and everything. But also it's like, I don't know if they get bored too. And it's like, there's just not much going on tonight. And he sees a guy who's like technically breaking some kind of esoteric law because he's, walking where there's a sidewalk, but he's not on the sidewalk. And so he's like, okay, I can do something with this. And then immediately it just escalates beyond control because that's just kind of how they're programmed to be. And of course, I got to call in backup from a 10-mile radius to resort to this, aggravated pedestrianing or whatever they want to call this.
Imagine what they could be doing that's happening in the neighborhood, potentially that's happening in the neighborhood, and everyone shows up. By the way, though, I guess one piece about this, that as we have this increase in seeing these types of things, at least, Paul Arrowwood is the cop that was the one who initially started that fight. And he's a 15-year veteran, so he's been there for some time with the state police. He now faces 2 criminal charges after the state police conducted an excessive use of force investigation on him. He was arrested for resisting and obstructing police. The gentleman there was. But the warrant request was denied by the Saginaw County Prosecutor's Office. And instead, they followed an excessive use of force investigation, continuing on into Arrowwood. And he faces a felony common law offenses charge and a misdemeanor assault charge. Now, this is where it starts going even more frustrating for me, because Captain Greg Morenko said, a member of our agency identified the potential misconduct here. He noticed it. And he had a range of emotions when he watched it, which was disappointment. Disappointment that a citizen had to experience this. Disappointment that one of our troopers acted outside the scope of training and policy and not live up to our expectations. Didn't live up to society's expectations as well. Great things to say, except that this same Officer Arrowwood, in the past, like in 2020, almost 3 years ago, I'm not sure if maybe this police chief wasn't there, maybe authorities and supervisors weren't involved in this and didn't know that this even happened. But Arrowwood has been involved with drawing his gun on a black man in a car, driving with permits to have his own gun in the middle console. So in this particular instance back in 2020, as you see from this headline, he's the officer on the left as they handcuff this 27-year-old man who then had a legal gun in his console. And when they asked for his insurance and papers, he opened it up and they saw the gun and guns were in his face. Of course, he complained about that. And this same officer, I guess he wasn't doing anything fine, or doing anything wrong there either. Back on the beat.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I like the protests and everything was so, well, they did matter and were important, because I don't think, I'm sorry, but that other cop or other member of the agency or whoever it was that watched the footage and was disheartened and disappointed that this had happened or whatever, I don't really think that those people like really care anymore about this type of thing than they used to, but they just know now that it's harder to get away with it. You know what I mean? Like if there's video and people have seen it, now they've reached a point where it seems like they understand that they're gonna have to do something. Whereas used to, they just did nothing, or like paid suspension for 3 days or whatever, and then that would be fine. And it's still oftentimes not enough, but at least we've reached a point where they seem to understand that you have to take some kind of action, which is something.
They're getting there. Hopefully, maybe we'll see, because they let him off hook the first time.